Are you a medical professional interested in obs and gynae as a career? Well, don't do it. Please don't do it. I'm only joking. I'm only joking. I've been an obs and gynae doctor, OBGYN now for 8 years, and I'm gonna discuss all the things I wish I knew before I signed up for this career. And if you're a medical professional who is interested in this specialty, or you're just someone who's interested in knowing what it is that I would do for a living, please stick around and let's dive in. Now, you might be wondering, oh my gosh, that's such a long time. The training program in the UK is 7 years long. I've taken 2 maternity leave. I've worked part-time on and off throughout my career, and that just prolongs the training program. I've got about 2 years left before I complete the training. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the things that, had I known, might have put me off. And then I'm going to talk about the things that I still absolutely love about my job in order to provide balance. Whenever I'm at work, whenever I meet doctors in and around, they're always like, oh, would you do it again? And if you catch me on a different day, my answer will change. For the longest time, I regretted it and I wish I'd never done it. But thankfully, I'm over that hump and I can at least appreciate my time in the specialty and in my job as being super beneficial. And I also do feel that I would have regretted it had I not done it. So my first point is that the job is busy. I work in inner London and every unit I have worked in has been busy. Like, the busyness is so hard to explain, but you're typically at work and you're on, and then you're home and then you struggle to like switch off, and then you're back to work and you're on again. So it's a really busy job. And typically, if you look at other specialties, it's really busy, maybe as a junior doctor, so sort of early stage career, and then it might get busy-ish as a registrar, which is the level I'm at now. And then as you're a consultant, it then starts to quieten down. But actually in obs and gynae, it just doesn't stop. You get really busy senior house officer days, really busy registrar days, and then still you're quite busy as a consultant. Because of the safety around maternity care, consultants are on site mostly until 10. Some hospitals, they're on site 24 hours. And then when you're doing that into your 50s and 60s, that's still a really busy job in comparison to your counterparts who might have slightly less busy on-calls. And then the busyness is, again, not just whilst you're on the job, but also like the rota schedule. So in the UK, by law, we work a 48-hour week on average, which is, I think, the key part of that sentence, that it is an average over a 16 or 20 week period. So what that means is some weeks I might have no work and therefore 0 hours, but then some weeks I could be working up to 70 hours that week, and that could be a combination of day shifts. So a day shift is typically 8 till 5, or a long day 8 till 8:30, or a night shift 8 till 8:30 in the next morning, or the weekend, which could be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, either long days or long nights. So over the course of 16 weeks, you'd have a variety of shift patterns, and you're constantly on and off between that. And to ensure that you only get a 48-hour max working week, then over the 16 weeks or 20 weeks or 10 weeks, depending on the unit you're in, you will typically have a week off, so that you can average those hours out, if that makes any sense. So a week for me might look like Monday, Tuesday, 12 and a half hours day shift, and then a Wednesday, Thursday, 12 and a half hours night shift, and then you would be off for the weekend, and then you'd be back to work on Monday. So it's really hard, I think, as a mum, and as someone who probably likes routine but has never managed to establish one as a working mum or as a working woman, to have a routine at all. So you can't say, oh, every Tuesday I'm going to go to the gym, and the only way you can guarantee that is if you work something called less than full time. I have Mondays off now, so if I wanted to, I could say I could go to the gym every Monday, and that would be fairly achievable given my schedule. So the days that it might not be achievable is if I worked a Sunday night shift and I finish on a Monday morning, then I don't have that hours. But for all intents and purposes, if you are working full time, it would be very hard to say every Tuesday I'm going to go play tennis, because some Tuesdays you would make it, some Tuesdays you'd do a long day, some Tuesdays you'd be doing a night shift, and you can extrapolate that to any day of the week. And so, like I said, it's busy, and it doesn't necessarily get less busier as a consultant, because most people can tolerate being busy for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, however long your training is. But then it's the consultant job, again, that most people, that I say that you need to look at. If you see a consultant and you like their schedule, you like how busy they are, that means you can, fairly confidently say that you're more likely to like the job. But as I've gone through my career, I can see that consultants are getting more and more of a workload and are therefore busier as they're getting older. In the UK, rightly or wrongly so, Obs and Gynae is one of the highest, I don't know what's the word, litigious specialties. So like, you're often concerned about bad outcomes, and then when bad outcomes happen, investigations happen, you then get interviewed, and all of these things are good measures in place, because ultimately we all want to protect patient outcomes, and you want babies and women to be safe. But as someone, as a working in there, as a human being with obviously a life, with a conscience and things like that, if bad things happen, you're constantly reliving that from sort of personal trauma, but then you're reliving it through the sort of interview process as they're trying to get to the bottom of why things have happened or not. And that just adds an extra level of mental stress. And that's just something that comes with the territory of the job. It's not going anywhere, and it needs to be in place to make the job itself safe for everyone, really. But it's a mental stress that I think needs to be considered, and I definitely didn't consider it going into the job. I don't think I'd even had anyone have that conversation with me. Following on from that, there's more scrutiny for the role, and again, I think it's healthy for it to happen, but I do think as an individual person, you have to have the resilience to do it. And again, something that wasn't told to me is that actually there's lots of people like me who go into training, maybe go through a really bad patch, and then they leave. So within the UK, obs and gynae doctors are more likely to leave the profession compared to other specialties. And again, it will be because of how high pressure the environment is, or how the risk of like a bad outcome can personally affect your mental state. The resilience training that we're taught to go through the job, like, oh my gosh, I can't count the number of lectures I've had on being resilient. And this is just something that's part of our training, because it's a really, really tough role to play. Like, you could literally say, oh, I'm going to go have lunch. And if you're on call and you heard an emergency buzzer, like the emergency buzzer haunts me in my sleep. Like, it's literally like get up and go. And that's necessary because the nature of the job is so dangerous. Like, we're dealing with real lives. So there's a high stress on you as an individual to work really hard, but to deliver good care, to deliver care under scrutiny, media scrutiny, social media scrutiny, like it's endless. And you as an individual need to be able to tolerate that, or know how to put up with that in order to carry on doing a really good job. And I genuinely feel like if you're going through the job being like, I just want to serve women, look after women, make sure they and their babies are safe, educate women, chances are you'll be fine. But bad things happen, and they can happen to anyone at any time. And you as a doctor have to have kind of like the backbone to carry that. So that's definitely something to consider. And then, as I've alluded to, it's like work-life balance. If you've got the mental stress of the job, you're taking home bad outcomes, you're taking home stresses, you're taking home, like, it's a stressful environment, so everyone can be quite tetchy at times. You take that home with you. You're working, say, a 70-hour week, but you've got kids, you've got friends, you've got a husband, you've got all these things, and you're not actually able to really feed into your life in a way that makes you resilient for the job. That can really take its toll. It can lead to burnout, it can lead to overwhelm. And I can't think of anyone in my friendship group who hasn't gone through that journey at some point. Definitely I have gone through that journey at some point. And it takes a lot. And there is support. We've got like support for counselling, coaching, and all of these things that actually are really needed to like carry you through the training program. So hopefully I've not freaked you out, but the job has pros. And as I said, I was joking about telling you not to do it. Like, I have gone through my form of therapy, careers counselling, coaching, and I can now appreciate how much I genuinely do enjoy my job. And you'll see in one of my other videos, I talk about wanting to leave medicine, and that's probably still very true. However, there are days where I'm at work that I'm like, oh, I really don't know if I can leave it all behind. Like, I don't think I can. And what does that look like? What does that look like in my new future? But there are genuinely parts of my job that I love. And if anyone knows me, they'll know that I'm passionate about women's health, and being in my job just makes me know that I'm like right where I need to be for this moment. And I love that. I feel, in my opinion, the benefit of being in Obs and Gynae is that you get to serve women. Like, you get to serve women from cradle to grave. Like, you just get to be around women. I like seeing them in their teenage years, in their reproductive era, in their menopausal era. Like, you're just around women. And like, sometimes I'll see a woman in her 60s or 70s, and she comes into the clinic, and you're like, oh, you're thriving. You are thriving. Like, that is something I can look up to. Or I see a woman who's had a baby, and I'm like, look, the postpartum period can be tough. I've been there, but these are the things to support you. Like, oh, you've got really bad painful periods. I feel you. I had them too. Like, I just really love interacting with women. And the days that I am most joyful about my job are the days where I feel like I've had meaningful interactions, which can really only come when you're not busy, rushed off your feet, and stuff like that. I like that my work life is varied. So I know I've moaned about the shift patterns and things like that. But if I'm at work for a week and I'm doing an 8 to 5 shift week, I could be in the antenatal clinic in the morning, I could be in the gynae clinic in the afternoon, I could be in the antenatal ward the next morning, I could be in the maternity triage in the afternoon, I could be in the gynae theatres in the morning, and then I could be in the gynae clinic in the afternoon, I could be on the gynae ward for the whole day, I could be on I don't do the postnatal ward anymore, but at points I did the postnatal ward. I could be doing an elective cesarean. If I'm on labour ward, I could be going from delivering a baby vaginally to delivering them by cesarean section to repairing an injury. Like, the variety is endless. I could be speaking to a woman about a rash, and then the next woman I'm speaking to her about vaginal discharge. Like, endless. Like, it's literally such a varied job, and you have to have that personality where you can hone in on one thing, and all of us have to sort of have an interest area, and that might well get repetitive, but you know that you could do your special interest clinic one week and one day, and then the next day you could be on the labour ward, you could be scanning in the pregnancy department, or you could be scanning in the gynae department. Like, there are so many options, and I just love how varied it is, and I think it genuinely speaks to my personality. But obviously with the variety of the job comes the shift work and the nights and the weekends. I like the team. I feel like I work for women and I work with women mostly. Like, obviously there are other genders within the specialty as patients, and there are other genders within the specialty as colleagues. But I like the teamwork. I like the camaraderie. I like that you can say, oh, I've seen this case today, what do you think about that? And like, that's so easy to do. Or be like, oh, I'm just going to get some advice, or oh, I've got a tricky theatre case, oh, who's around to help me? Like, there is just so much camaraderie, and I don't know if it's like, I feel like we all trauma bond, but I do really love the camaraderie that comes with the job as well, and just that teamwork, working with women, challenging each other as well, like, and just being on the lookout for each other, because like I said, it's a hard job, and be working with a boss who's like, you must eat, or I'm doing the coffee run, and just really acknowledging that we all have a tough time at work, but we're there because we love it, and we're there because we can do it as well. In the UK, where our main employer is the NHS, however, with women's health, with Obs and Gynae, there is scope for private work for a lot of specialties, but I do think like acknowledging the scope for private healthcare in Obs and Gynae is very necessary. You could do private obstetrics, you could do private gynaecology, operating, private gynaecology in a clinic setting, and there are women who are, unfortunately, with the really long waiting list, are just not getting seen in time on the National Health Service, so they will go private. So the private potential for the specialty is also quite lucrative, and that's also something to consider when you're before you join the career, also when you're in the career, like the choices that you make for your subspecialty or your interest area will also obviously have to translate to what you can make financially if you were to go down the private route and the private sector. Yeah, so I feel like I have passionately conveyed my points. I will list them below with timestamps. Every job has its merits and its downsides. Obs and Gynae is an amazing career, and I think that people who even have an inkling of interest in the job should apply and do it, because even if you were to go off and be a GP, even if you were to go off and leave medicine, there is absolutely no emotion, I feel, that is comparable to delivering a baby. Like, I'm sitting having a coffee, the emergency buzzer goes off, there's signs that this baby's distressed, and you go in and you help and deliver that baby, and then you get a crying baby at the end, a crying mum, crying with happy tears hopefully, and you're feeling like, yeah, I actually feel like I've made a difference today, and it's very hard for me to leave work and not have that feeling. So and it's not just with the whole like activity around delivering women on the labor board, but that's just a feeling that you can't ever replace. Like, you know, you could learn, you could become a GP with an interest in women's health, you could be a community gynecologist or a sexual and reproductive health doctor, and you interact with women and you get so many benefits from that. But the labour ward, like I feel like if or when I leave, that will be the thing I miss. Like, even, I don't know. But yeah, I just think that if you've got an inkling of interest in the job or the specialty, you have to do the job and you have to try it out. There is a ton of support within the role. People around you know how hard it is. They provide support. They can literally carry you through the profession. The teamwork, the caring for women, the speaking to women. Like nowadays, if I go in to a gynae clinic and I'm like drawing out the menstrual cycle, or I'm drawing out fibroids, or I'm doing absolutely anything of that nature, I'm just like, yeah, this is such a soul feel. Like this really, really, really speaks to me. So that's my, I hope, balanced response about obs and gynae. And again, just to say, like, I may be super positive about it now. Maybe even as little as 3 months ago, I was like, I should have just been a GP. I would have been done. I would have been free. I could have done GP with women's health interest. I could have done this. I could have done that. But no. My mental state is like, Remy, be appreciative for the journey that you've been on, and God knows why. Like, just be grateful that you've had the grace to experience this wonderful job and been able to serve in this wonderful job. It's hard, but it's also rewarding. And yeah, if you've got any questions about being an obs and gynae doctor, feel free to drop them in the comments. But yeah, if you like the video, let me know. Please subscribe. I will aim to do a few more videos about like my life as a doctor, as an obs and gynae doctor. And yeah, cool. Thank you for sticking around.